everybody for joining. Welcome to another Pipeline Industries Guild webinar. For those who are able to have participated and enjoyed them so far, thank you. And for those of you, this is your first. I hope you go to future ones, particularly informative for us all. Before we kick off, just wanted to also emphasize that we're trying also to help those who are working from home, particularly looking after children. So there are webinars set up for children, particularly around some of our hazards in our life, like electricity and gas, and also the positive things where things come from, like water. So please keep looking at the events part of our website, or just looking at those emails which come in from events or from Kate Byfield, and register. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. There also are some other social events which we've been also pushing for on webinars. Some of the branch events, some scavenger hunts, and things like that. So please, again, take the opportunity of joining. And for any of you out there who have either from your companies or from yourselves some expertise that you'd equally would like to be sharing via webinar, then please reach out to Kate, and I'm sure we'll be able to take the opportunity to involve you. So turning to today, I'm Wynne Hughes. I'm the outgoing national chair. I outgo at our AGM, which again I welcome as many people to participate in as possible. There will be voting arrangements, and there will be a pack going out to the members as we speak. But please keep updating yourselves from the Guild website on things like that. Jason is our DC1. He's going to take over from me. So we thought we'd just share with you some of the ideas that I had coming into chair, and Jason will have coming into chair, and also then answer some specific questions. So for me, the sort of standard questions really, but what did I want to achieve in the year? How has the Guild changed for me during that year? And what part of the future do I still see for the Guild? I was very, very fortunate to come into the chair when we had actually made significant changes at HQ in Banbury, and the staff were energised. So for me, at day one of my taking over the chair, I was pretty much delighted to have achieved what I wanted to have in place for the Guild HQ. Because I divided my term as chairman into three sort of building blocks. One was around the staff and HQ and how that should work. Two was really around making sure that we understood a purpose and a future for the Guild, and I'll return to that. And then three was ensuring that from the board of directors were energised, and the members were feeling engaged, and we were arranging, various events, etc. So when I came into chair, we had just actually appointed Norman as a CEO to help as a figurehead for the team, but we had actually really empowered Catherine and Kate. And also Paul, who looks after the finance, to be a lot more interactive with the membership, and to draw and make some of their own decisions within a framework of what should happen for the Guild. So in terms of HQ, I achieved mostly what I wanted to achieve on day one, so I was really, really lucky. Part of a measure, though, for any chair, unfortunately, looking back, and I say unfortunately, it's not necessarily a true measure, but it's a very visual measure, is the national dinner. And again, I personally thought, it would be great for us all to have a great national dinner. And very early on, in fact, before the end of the summer, Kate and I had worked on the arrangements, and she had been superb in getting those executed. And actually, by the end of the year, early this year, 2020, we had over 750 registered to attend the national dinner. And immensely proud of everything that HQ staff have done, and particularly Kate. As you know, in the end, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, the numbers are slightly down, but we still had over 650 attend just at the beginning of March there, which was a wonderful sight to see. Looking to the role of chair, though, clearly we have a board of directors, and we have to ensure that there's an efficient board meetings are held. We make sure we have clear outputs and conclusion and focus. So early on, I embarked on planning the 4 board meetings. We actually went for 2 in the calendar year, at the end of calendar year 19, and 2 into 20. And I'm absolutely delighted about both the attendance record of all my fellow directors, as well as the achievements of the meetings. In fact, the very last board I chaired, I was delighted to see on Zoom, so many of the directors were able to make it, a great turnout. And even more importantly, a very, very short list of outstanding items. So the board has worked very hard on actioning outstanding and legacy situations. We've looked hard at our risk management, as well as good initiatives for going forward. And I'm delighted the list of outstanding items for every board meeting has got less and less. So it just shows how productive the board has been. I think talking now about maybe what overall happened in my year, and for those who were able to attend the national dinner, which is just at the beginning of the COVID-19 situation, you may or may not recall, and if you don't recall, then please also look at our newsletter, which has just a small article from that dinner. But we had over 46 new members in 2019. We had over 50,000 people. So we had over 50 events organised in that year. We had over 4,500 people attend our events, and we raised probably in excess of £40,000 for charities. So a real relevance for us all, the Guild, at this moment in time. And then what happened was COVID. And COVID-19 has affected our industry, obviously here within the UK, as well as for those of us who work overseas, in such huge ways. Yet the team was so focused from Banbury to adapt so quickly and bring to life using Zoom and other ways, the webinars, involving us all, and actually breathing relevance into being members of the Guild. And I'm delighted and so proud to see that. We had a very good national dinner, as I mentioned. So actually, we've come into this situation as strong financially as one could have hoped for an organisation like ours to weather the storm of when we don't know definitely when we'll be having face-to-face dinners and therefore generating income and revenue that way. But I'm delighted by the fact how the team has rallied under Norman, the whole of the exec, Jason, Dan, and the whole of the board of directors and the Guild staff. And you all as members, and those of you who have bothered to join today, and all of your companies which fully support the Guild, I'm absolutely delighted. And finally, for my sort of legacy part, as mentioned by Kate in the introduction email which went around, it was Guild 2025. I was very concerned when I came in to be the chair, following great chairmen like Bob Murray and Phil Kisham and James Harrison, etc. Matt Rowlett. I had followed some great chairs, but I really was a bit concerned about what does the Guild look like in 2025, and more importantly, I wanted to give us all a sort of a rallying cry of something to come around and start interacting on. And under the leadership of Norman and several superb leaders around individual building blocks of that Guild 2025, that is progressing, and I look forward to seeing how that progresses in the future, and really handing on that baton to Jason. So now I'd like to just ask Jason Wilson to give us his view of coming into the chair as I hand over the baton in a couple of weeks' time. Jason.
Okay, thanks, Adam. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again to you, Adam. I'd just like to reiterate the message that you really have done some great things during your tenure. You set a high benchmark and you leave the Guild in a great place, so continuing at your rate of progress and maintaining your standards makes my job all the tougher. So, although I say thanks, I almost think, gosh, you made it harder, but thank you. Introduction to me. For those who don't know me, Jason Wilson, I'm a lead project manager for Severn Trent Water. My personal life, I'm married to Linda. We have a 10-year-old son, he's called Oliver, and we have a 12-year-old Cocker Spaniel called Crisp. Outside of work, particularly passionate about cars and anything with engines. I love skiing. I particularly like the après ski, maybe a little bit too much. I've been involved in the pipeline industry for most of my working life, and I joke that I actually started out in the petrochemical industry, as my first job was a weekend petrol pump attendant. However, my 30-year career has been in construction, and predominantly it's been within the water industry. I started out in sewerage design, and I've worked on waste and clean water process projects in the past. I've been very fortunate. There's been a massive variety in my work, ranging from some really small jobs to some pretty flipping huge ones. Each project having its own bespoke challenges. So where I am at the moment, my current project focus is taking care of one of life's essentials by ensuring that our Severn Trent customers receive a constant supply of wholesome drinking water. To put that simply, it means I manage a suite of trunk main projects, which are basically big pipes. That provides resilience and flexibility to the network. And this is so that we can transport water from one area to another whenever we need it. Should we ever, say, have periods of hot weather, for example. So I was asked how and why did I get involved with the Guild? So I said that the people that I've worked with have helped me witness an incredible amount of positive change in our industry. And I don't think I'm unique in that some of my projects have ran more smoothly than others. I couldn't possibly do everything. I still can't do everything. I needed help, and I still need help. But when I reflect on the jobs that went particularly well, one of the biggest influences on project success is having the right people involved at the right time. And you could say that this is down to luck. But the question is, can you make your own luck? So when I first moved into the clean water infrastructure sector, I've been challenged to look at leakage performance and workmanship standards. Two different topics, yet they're not unrelated. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term voluntold. That's when you volunteer for something without actually putting your own hand up. But my then line manager voluntold me, and I'll paraphrase what he said to take out the expletives, extend my awareness of these challenges across the industry. So to start this off, I went to the Guild's Midland Branch meeting, my first. I wanted to get out there and see what tricks we were missing from other like-minded businesses. So my thinking was, be it drinking water, gas, oil, petrol, sewage, etc., we're all in the same business of helping to safely move stuff around without spilling or wasting it. And this was my first of many meetings, and it didn't take long for me to recognise the different attributes the Guild members offered and the value of the network of expertise that I was quickly building. All of these entities involved and functions and businesses were all different, yet all connected and having some similarity or some support linking into the projects that I'd worked on. And I became branch secretary, went on to become branch chair, and here I am now. Now, in all honesty, and that wasn't something I anticipated back then, but I do regret not being involved sooner, because it's clear that the strength of the advisory network that I now have available to me may well have helped me with those more awkward projects that I was mentioning earlier on. And it goes full circle, because as I start out my next challenge as national chair for the Guild, I'll again be looking to those around me for support and advice during my term to help make the year a successful one. So what's coming up next? So I spoke at the national dinner, for those who were there, that my theme was about change. And that was just before lockdown. And crikey, little did I know what was coming. So when I think about the COVID months, there's been a time where people have needed to help one another more than ever. We've learned an awful lot about ourselves, and we've learned a lot about other people, and we've been forced into thinking and doing things differently in both our personal and our working lives. And I think about me as an individual. I think I probably haven't driven more than 20 miles. I haven't used cash once. That's not because I'm mean, I just haven't had to use cash. And I haven't been in a physical office environment for 3 months. Now, although it's been a challenge, we are showing what can be done. And going forward, we won't revert back to where we were. We're unlikely to work in the same way ever again. And the Guild is no exception. It's still very much functioning, and the HQ team are operating remotely and working very hard. I believe that communication to the members has probably never been stronger, in particular thanks to the HQ team for that. The most obvious example, as Adam mentioned before, is this extensive program of webinars, which have proven to be extremely popular. And the speed that these were brought in demonstrated the agility of the Guild, and there's something that are going to continue going forward. Adam mentions the 2025 initiative, and it's already underway. So for people who weren't aware, this was driven by member feedback, and it generated 6 working groups focusing on, I better just check I've got these right. So Guild structure and management, membership engagement, communications, training and education, events and services, and business development. They're already progressing, they're all being supported by our members, and some are already near to completion. But within these groups are some activities that I feel particularly passionate about. And if you were able to join the Guild President's Fascinating webinar, which was a couple of weeks ago, it was really quite pleasing for me to hear how some of the things that Steve Fraser and John Murphy had identified as being important were things that were on my list that I was thinking about. So not in any particular order, and there is a slight overlap because some of these items are linked, but a few things that I picked out that I just wanted to home in on that I'd like us to focus on in the coming year or so. Diversity and gender balance. And I found it really encouraging how industry is changing, and the branches, panels and key positions are getting more and more diverse representation. And I think this is great, and it's something that we can work on and will continue to work on going forward. Succession planning is key, and I ask the members to offer up people into these roles. Another thing is that embracing and promoting the non-technical functions of the industry. We heavily rely on so many support functions, so financial, administration, project management support, just to name a few. These valuable functions can quite often go unrecognised if we're not careful. So we deserve to give them a particular focus. I also want to think about how we find and encourage our future workers into the industry. Can we do more to embrace our blue-collar workforce? Can we offer them more opportunity by way of mentoring and coaching? Let's try to bring them into our succession plans going forward. Our industry and businesses are working more and more on social responsibility, and I'd love to see the Guild moving to do more on this, and maybe offering some volunteer support in some of the branch and member communities. I think that would be a really positive thing, and it's the right thing to do. Also, in addition to our physical health and safety, our mental health and well-being has moved to the fore. And with the impact of COVID-19 lockdown, it's made a lot of people appreciate just how affected we can be. And I think it's essential that we look after ourselves and look out for each other. So I expect to see more on this in the future. Something else that I often reflect on, 30 years ago or more it was, but I've never forgotten my worst ever line manager. And these days, we're far more aware of how we behave and how we interact with our work colleagues and how we can influence our teams. But I'd still like to see us pushing more on the soft skills and leadership styles in our mentoring and support network. I think that would be something that's a very worthwhile and valuable thing to our members. Innovation and technology. It should be a quick and easy fix. Businesses and suppliers, please put yourselves out there. These webinars, they don't take much time. They're recorded and so other members can access them afterwards. We all love to see and hear what's new, and the Guild members may be able to support, help and resolve any problems or issues or enable contacts, etc., to help you get these things launched. So my final thought for you to consider is how can you help shape the future? Do you already support other people? Could you do a little bit more? Why not invest a little of your own time to the Guild and help nurture the Guild and PDN members? It could offer a big return. Encourage your own staff, your workforce, graduates, apprentices, etc., to get more involved in the Guild. It really would be our privilege to see them flourish. And we should remember it's quite a small world, and these people are our future directors or CEOs. So that's what I was summarising as my key things. So thank you for listening. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, we got
a few popped up. I can't do two things at once, so
we got a few here, Jason. So thank you for those asking the questions, and I think it's it sums up how the Guild can actually support. So just looking at the three questions, thank you to Vish, who's asked about what can we play a role as a Guild in driving, enabling a clean and green recovery from COVID-19. I think definitely some of the webinars we've seen, some of the technical papers which have been put in for awards, etc., and obviously looking forward to announcing those resultants, etc. But has been looking also at greener ways for our industry, particularly the hydrogen, the hydrogen economy, etc. So I actually think there are definite ways that the Guild can do by pointing and signposting towards those relevant areas. Jason, I'm going to ask you to answer the one which was about water on the basis that it's asking about, this came from Nick, about, how can the Guild help the water pipeline operators explain to their customers the change of their water use behaviours just when COVID lockdown has changed customer perception of right or wrong?
Sorry, I'm just scrolling down to read the question. Good question. One of the things that we're currently doing is we're trying to incentivize our customers. So the last thing we would ever do is want to discourage customers from using water for genuine hygiene purposes, but we're trying to encourage them to understand the essential reasons for water usage. And something that I didn't expect this to become a plug for us as a business, but one of the things that we've done is we've launched an initiative where we are offering an incentive to our customer social areas who will benefit from our customers reducing their amount of water that they're consuming. So it's quite early on, but we've notified our bill payers that if we can target a reduction in water usage, maybe to bring it back in line with the increase that we've had since the hot weather, that there'll be a benefit to the areas where we will invest some money in sort of charity or social responsibility work.
Excellent, thank you. There's a couple of others about looking towards a theme. Thank you, Tony Ross, for yours. Of again staying relevant as a Guild and working with other institutions and the governments and businesses, etc. And I think that's really is part of the Guild 2025 and the signposting we hope to do towards other items. There was a shared webinar, I think last week, dates move in my head, but with iGEM, and we're looking at continuing to do any of those cooperation where we can. I think that some of the other questions coming up about, and you certainly, Jason, mentioned it, was about the developing professional network, and I think we've got to keep looking at mentoring, bringing people on, gender imbalance corrections, etc. And I think Dan Jefferson, who's going to become our DC1, we're delighted that he really is active with us in the exec, and probably, to be fair, the DC1s tend to do even more work than the actual chair does. I think that's fair to say, Jason. Hopefully that you'll find the same with you.
Yeah.
There's a couple of questions. I mean, yes, I think Ken replied to Andrew Wilson probably the way I would equally want to reply, which was, we came into this situation the strongest financially the guild has been for some time, and in a way that made it possible for the guild to not look at the income earning events that we used to do. And that's thanks so much for the new members. We've even had new members join this year, for those who have been active in the other events like the national dinners I mentioned. But yes, we've got to learn to evolve out of this, and I expect that as Jason chairs his first couple of board meetings, part of that is going to be looking at how can we financially weather what the new norm looks like, and how will that to take a shape. And I don't want a knee-jerk reaction to saying let's charge for webinars, etc., because I think really as Ken has mentioned on his response to that is we actually need everybody engaged, and we need to have a technical base to the guild, and to turn people off with having to pay immediately is difficult. However, it doesn't mean to say that we won't be able to look at whether members and non-members, etc. Perhaps there should be any fees for that. But Andrew, in answer to your question, we're strong, coming in strong. The finance committee have worked really hard to give us quite a big buffer. The guild probably, and Norman will correct me, but I think we're probably still of funds in excess of £500,000. So I'm pretty confident that we can go through the next period looking at what the future looks like, and whether that financially. And particularly, we have not furloughed any of our staff. They are working probably harder than ever. Some of them desperate to get back to the office, but all congratulations to them, how hard they've worked. And as I say, we actually have had new members join during this situation.
Yeah, we've reviewed that risk, haven't we?
Yes.
We've reviewed that risk, and we've planned in for eventualities to that effect, and we're confident that we've got things in place should we need them. And I agree about the webinars. We don't want them to become an advert for product or whatnot. We do need them to maintain a technical focus, and that's always been the intention. But however, I think by very nature of the fact that some companies will be putting on technical events, there is always an element of it becoming a little bit of a plug. But the main focus is always, the emphasis is always on the technical side of it, not so much the advertising.
Yeah, exactly. So
does that make sense?
Yeah, those definitely. Have you got any comments you want to make in closing before I close?
For me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I was just going to ask what your high was. What was your biggest high? What can I look forward to? What can I look forward to as the best bit?
Sometimes my highs are realizing how low my lows could be. But no, for me, all seriousness, for me, the overall, there's such positive areas like the financing you mentioned, like the new members, the whole membership engagement. I'm just immensely proud of the items that we've done together as a group, and I think I'll take away that the foundations which are set, as I say, in the predecessors of mine as chairman, and the foundations that we continue to build, myself and the board and yourselves, is enabled, from our president and the changeover president occurring this year as well to the newest member, to almost come together more during this beginning of the COVID-19. So I'm immensely proud that the Guild is relevant and that the Guild will continue to progress, and I can't thank people enough for their support and energy they've been putting into the Guild, particularly in my opinion, for the last sort of 18 to 24 months. We've come a long way of pointing us in the direction many of us want to travel, and I enjoy handing the baton over to you, and I also enjoy the opportunity to work with the PCF, our past chair and foreman, which again is evolving, is a font of knowledge and wisdom of our past, but also to help us with our future. And you mentioned right at the beginning where you got involved with the Guild. For me, it's over 30 years ago, and I met and started working alongside and great friends like Brent Windsor and the team down here in the West Country. And the Guild taught us so much as young project managers, and exactly as you say, I'm very fortunate. I now run a company across the world of a couple of thousand people, and most of that comes from background of working with the Guild and learning quickly the technology we needed to know, as well as the people skills. So, no, I've had a good year, and thank you for all who supported me. So,
okay. Well, my last request is you don't run away. You hang around so you can help me when I need some advice. So much appreciated.
No, definitely. I look forward to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for the webinar. I hope it's been, if anything, just pointing you towards how much the Guild can offer. Please go to the website. Please log on and take part in webinars. But as I say, thank you all for your support. Thank you so much.
Don't forget the kids' webinars as well.
Exactly.
The kids' webinars.
Exactly.
Kate, the plug.
Definitely. So take care. All the best.
Thanks all. Yeah. Thank you all.
Bye.